Have you ever just looked at a plant and wondered how it moves so perfectly? I mean, what if we could actually build materials that act less like, static objects and more like living things? Well, today we're going to dive into how scientists are literally printing the future by borrowing some of nature's best-kept secrets.
So let's just start with a mind-blowing example, the Venus flytrap. This thing can snap shut on its prey in about 100 milliseconds. That is literally faster than you can blink. And get this, it has no muscles, no nerves, no brain, so how on earth is that even possible?
Well, the answer is something called morphing composites. These are materials specifically designed to change shape all on their own. And we're able to unpack this for you thanks to a fascinating interview with Professor Hortense Lefern on Under the Microscope, which is the flagship podcast from the Science Talk that really spotlights this exact kind of innovation.
Okay, so let's get into how this actually works. Part 1. Printing with purpose. This isn't just about copying a shape. It's about building function into a material right from the very beginning. Let's break down how Professor Lefern and her team are pulling this off.
The whole process is just so elegant. First, you find your inspiration, right? You study the amazing internal architecture of a plant. Then, you cook up a custom 3D printing ink. But here's the absolute game changer, the third step. You use things like magnetic fields to line up tiny little particles inside that liquid ink, so you're creating a programmed internal structure before it's even printed. And only then do you print the final object, which now has these incredible new abilities just waiting to be activated.
And this is really the key difference. Think about it. Conventional 3D printing is amazing for creating a complex shape. But this bio-inspired method, it's on another level. By engineering that internal structure, you're also programming a new function right into the material itself. It's no longer just a static object, it's a dynamic system.
Which brings us to the big question, right? Why does this matter? The science is incredible, for sure, but the real power is in the kinds of materials this will allow us to create. So what can you actually do with this stuff in the real world?
Oh, the possibilities are just huge. We're talking about soft robots that can move in these really complex, lifelike ways without a bunch of clunky motors. Imagine buildings or airplanes with parts that can tell you when they're stressed or damaged, with no external sensors needed. We can create materials that react to their environment. A surface that changes texture when it gets hot, or a medical implant that adapts inside the body. This is how we get to the real, multifunctional materials of tomorrow. But making these huge breakthroughs, it's not just about having the right gear or a perfect theory. As Professor Lefern explained, it takes a certain kind of mindset. So for our final section, let's look at the philosophy that actually drives this kind of amazing discovery.
And at the heart of it all is this refreshingly simple piece of advice from her. She says, just try out, don't think too much. It's this call to just get your hands dirty, to experiment and to let the results guide you instead of getting stuck in your own head.
I love this analogy she uses. She compares her work to cooking. You can follow a recipe perfectly, but the most amazing new dishes often come from just trying things out. Maybe something doesn't work, it fails, but that process itself teaches you something. In the lab, every failed experiment is just more data, giving you brand new ideas for what to try next.
So here's the bottom line. We started with the Venus flytrap, just one tiny example of nature's genius. And now, the technology to not only copy, but actually build upon that genius exists. It just leaves you with this one really exciting question. What other secrets, hidden in the world all around us, are just waiting to be printed?